I'm Martin, 33 years old, living in Houston, USA. I have a job with a high income in exchange for a busy work schedule. I've experienced many hotels from budget to luxury, but my hotel experience during a business trip to New York 3 years ago still haunts me. I arrived at the budget hotel at 11 p.m. I didn't have much time to choose a place to stay. The receptionist told me there was only one room left in Area B. There were 2 rooms on that floor. She told me to avoid disturbing the room with the red sign S1302 next to it, because that was the place the young couple rented for a fixed period of 1 month. I was very tired after a long flight, so I didn't pay attention to that room. I had a 4-day business trip here. The first night went smoothly. I slept very well. The next day, I finished work and returned to the hotel at 8 p.m. After showering and changing into comfortable pajamas, I lay on the bed to relax. Suddenly, giggles rang out in the next room, which was the young couple's room. Then there were moans. They were probably having fun. I put on headphones, turned on the music quite loudly, and fell asleep after that. On the third night, screams and slightly crazy laughter rang out, startling me awake. Looking at the phone clock, it was 12 o'clock. I'm quite uncomfortable because work is stressful all day long, so I really need to get enough sleep. I called the front desk to complain and wanted them to remind the couple to limit such noises. I regret renting a hotel with such poor soundproofing quality. It took 10 minutes for the laughter to stop, and it took me a long time to fall asleep again. The next day I felt tired and went to meet my business partner. The last night I returned to the hotel at 10 p.m. Tomorrow morning I will go home to rest. But this last night was truly more terrible than the previous nights. Because I had drunken a lot of coffee during the day, I have difficulty sleeping. It was nearly 11 o'clock when I heard footsteps running in the hallway. Why are they still making noise when I already responded to the receptionist? I approached the door, intending to directly remind the couple because they were outside anyway. But as soon as I opened the door and walked out, a woman wearing a thin nightgown covering her feet, long black hair hanging down, eyes staring lifelessly. In her hand, she held a sharp, dirty knife straight towards me. I immediately retreated into my room and avoided it. She still maintained that position and ran past. I followed her with my eyes, even though I was very scared. She suddenly stopped, twisted her neck, and made a cracking sound and looked straight back at me. I panicked and quickly locked the door. My whole body trembled. My mind was dizzy and panicked. I was about to call the receptionist when there was a knock on my door. I felt like my heart lost a beat. It took me a few seconds to calm down, but that knocking sound continued. I held my breath, slowly turned around and looked through the peephole. What caught my eye was the image of the woman just standing and staring at the door. The creepy smile on her thin face sent chills down my spine. I didn't know what to do next. Suddenly, a man's loud, angry scream rang out. Then his arm held something and swung it strongly towards the woman. Blood caught on my door, covering the peephole, a dark red color and a fishy smell. I covered my mouth tightly, not daring to scream. I don't remember whether I walked or crawled to the hotel desk phone. I tried my best to put it into words. I asked the receptionist, the security guard, the manager, anyone to come to my room immediately. The hotel manager and staff were present, and nearby tenants ran in panic and gossiped. On the floor right in front of my room, a woman lay in a pool of blood. The receptionist confirmed that this is the wife who rented 1302. About 10 minutes later, the police arrived and sealed off the scene. The police asked the receptionist to use the spare key to open the door to room 1302. In the room, there was a horrifying scene with blood, syringes, ropes, sharp knives, and a very strong smell. Lying on the sofa was the body of a man with a long cut on his neck, still bleeding, and a knife clutched tightly in his hand. According to police investigation, the man and woman were Jax and Jesse, their husband and wife. The hotel room is a place they rented to satisfy their drug addiction. The hotel receptionist was also bribed by the couple. Days of constant drug use make them mad and lose all self-control. Jax murdered his wife, and then he went back to his room and committed suicide. I asked the hotel to move me to another room and booked my plane ticket for the earliest flight home. The story I will tell is about the life of a mentally ill woman named Mia, 62 years old. She has a scary appearance with long scars on both sides of her mouth, all the way to her ears. She has no teeth, nail-less fingers, and jagged hair and eyelashes. She didn't speak, didn't express anything, just sat alone all day and looked out the window with dull eyes. Back in time 30 years ago, Mia had a wealthy life with her husband, Lucas, in a large mansion located in the wealthiest area of New York. They didn't have any children, which is also what worries Mia the most. To reduce the emptiness of the villa, the couple hired many people to work for them. One of them is a beautiful girl named Emma. Lucas was attracted to Emma's beauty. Out of jealousy, Mia begins to notice and get annoyed with Emma. Suddenly, one day Emma disappeared without any trace. All the people working in the villa do not care about that disappearance. They knew the landlady didn't like Emma and they didn't want to get involved. And Mia told her husband that he had fired Emma from her job because she was too clumsy. Everything returns to normal until Mia begins to act strangely every night. One evening around 12 o'clock while the couple was sleeping, Mia suddenly screamed in pain. Lucas woke up startled and saw his wife tugging at her hair. There was a lot of hair on the blanket. Mia's scalp was pulled until it was red. Lucas quickly stopped his wife. The next morning, Mia said that a long, cold hand reached out and grabbed her hair and pulled hard. Lucas and the servants think Mia is sleepwalking in her sleep. Things continued in an increasingly terrifying direction. Another day, Lucas came home very late, walked into the bedroom. The scene shocked Lucas. On the floor, on the bed, and in the wardrobe were long blood stains. Even more horrifying were the bloody fingernails scattered everywhere. Lucas quickly called out his wife's name. When he ran to the bathroom, Lucas saw Mia sitting in the bathtub with her head down, her fingertips crimson red. On the floor is a pair of bloody pliers. Lucas immediately called an ambulance to take Mia to the hospital. After regaining consciousness, Mia cried and told her husband that a hand used pliers to pull out all her nails. Lucas took Mia to see a psychiatrist and she was diagnosed with a mental disorder. Lucas told the staff to be careful and give Mia her medicine on time. A week later, Mia returned to normal, but her nails could no longer grow back. The most terrifying thing happened on Mia's 32nd birthday. Mia and her husband held a grand party inviting all relatives, friends, and important partners. Everything went perfectly. They ate together, talked, and waited until 12 o'clock to blow out the candles to celebrate Mia's new age. When it was 12 o'clock, Mia told her husband that she wanted to go to her room to change into a gorgeous dress. The giant cake was prepared. Lucas held a large bouquet of flowers in his hand with a happy expression waiting for his wife to come down. The clock struck exactly 12 o'clock. A crazy and distorted laugh rang out, making everyone bewildered. Mia approached with a terrifying and haunting appearance. Mia smiled widely, a smile without teeth, and from ear to ear, clutching a bloody knife in her hand. Blood continuously flowed from her mouth and face, staining her white dress and expensive crystals. Everyone present at the ceremony was stunned. Mia's mother fainted. No one dared come close to Mia, not even Lucas. He stood looking at his wife with fearful eyes. Mia turned 32 years old, which was also the time she was taken to the emergency room and transferred to a mental hospital. The villa is surrounded by a gloomy and cold atmosphere, until one day, the gardener discovered a 60% decomposed body in the corner of the garden. Lucas immediately reported to the police, and both he and the people working in the house were put under investigation. A week later, the whole incident came to light. The decomposed body was Emma's. Because she encountered Emma's many attempts to seduce Lucas, blind jealousy took over Mia. She ordered the housekeeper and 2 servants to drag Emma to the back garden. The housekeeper was ordered to cut off all of Emma's hair and eyelashes, and the servants pulled out all of Emma's fingernails and teeth. After that, Mia herself used scissors to cut Emma's mouth, so that the lovely mouth that usually smiled gracefully every time she met Lucas extended all the way to her ears. Mia asked the housekeeper and 2 servants to keep it absolutely secret and paid them a large amount of money. Lucas falls into a serious psychological trauma, haunted by his wife's horrifying face and brutality. I'm Sophia, 33 years old. My husband is Liam, 34 years old. My husband and I live in New York. We've been married for 4 years but have not planned to have children. I'm a successful woman with a high-paying job. Lately, I've been so busy with work that my husband and I haven't had much time to spend together. I felt Liam's coldness. On a 5-day business trip to California, I told Liam to arrange work to go with me. Both a business trip and a trip for the couple to warm up their relationship. But Liam seemed very hesitant about that suggestion, and I had to try to convince him. We rented a room at a luxury hotel near Coronado Beach. During the day, I will go handle work, leaving Liam at the hotel to explore everything around. Only at night do we have time for each other. Creepy things at this hotel begin to happen. The first night, I was startled awake when I heard the sound of water running in the toilet. It was about 12 o'clock. I think the hotel's water system has a problem. The sound of running water stopped for about 2 minutes. I was also quite tired after a day of work, so I went back to sleep right after. But on the second night, I heard a knocking sound coming from the closet door. At that time, I couldn't sleep because I was reviewing documents to send to my partner. That knocking sound followed by the rhythm of 3 consecutive sounds with a pause between each time. My heart beat faster with each knock. I'm a very shy person, so I didn't dare go up to see what was inside the cabinet. Hurriedly jumping onto the bed, I tried to shake Liam vigorously. But my husband sleeps very soundly. No matter what, he doesn't wake up. The knocking stopped. I was scared and covered myself with the blanket, hugged Liam tightly and tried to close my eyes to sleep. Things haven't stopped yet. On the 3rd night, I woke up in the middle of the night. Turning to the side, I couldn't see Liam anywhere. I called Liam with no response. I ran to the bathroom and couldn't find him. I was scared and turned on all the lights in the room. I picked up the phone and called Liam many times, but the phone said it couldn't be reached. The clock showed it was after 2 a.m. Checking that Liam's room card and shoes were still there. I panicked. I didn't dare sleep alone in the room anymore. I quickly ran down to the reception hall to sit. Unable to sleep all night, I went up to my room feeling tired and exhausted at 7 a.m. When I entered the room, I was startled to see Liam sleeping soundly on the bed. I called Liam up and asked him where he went last night and when he returned to his room. Liam looked at me blankly. "I slept in the room all night last night. What's wrong with you?" I fell into a state of shock. What the hell is going on? Could it be that I'm being blinded by a ghost? I shuddered at that thought. That day I took a break because my mind was too stressed and I couldn't stay awake. Liam wanted to go out for a walk on the beach for a while and told me to rest. I lay in bed listening to relaxing music. After a while, the knocking sound came again. I jumped up in surprise and stared towards the wardrobe. Slowly getting out of bed, I gently walked to the wardrobe. It was around 10 a.m. I was no longer afraid, but instead felt angry. I wanted to see what the hell was haunting me these past few nights. I opened the closet door really hard, but inside were just 2 bathrobes and nothing else. I was bewildered, not understanding what was going on when the knocking sounded again. It comes from the left corner of the cabinet. I reached out and gently pushed the corner of the cabinet. The wooden panel opened up to another quite large space. I was startled and screamed loudly when I saw someone, and the people inside were also startled and screamed loudly when they saw me. After calming down, I asked that person to step out. It was a young girl with a hot body and a very thin nightgown. She tried to run away but was immediately controlled by me. I called and told Liam to go to his room immediately. I tried to stay as calm as possible when listening to the explanations from my bad husband. The other girl has been his lover for nearly 3 months, traveling with his wife, but he insisted on taking her with him. The sound of running water that first night was because she couldn't hold it in anymore and decided to use the bathroom. The rhythmic tapping sound coming from the closet is their sign when calling each other. The night Liam disappeared was to crawl into the closet to sleep with his lover. Returning home, I immediately filed for divorce. The lawsuit and evidence of adultery, asking Liam for a large amount of compensation, making him miserable. I have to thank the hotel with its unique design for helping me recognize Liam's deceitful face.
I'm Lisa, living alone in a comfortable apartment in Seattle, Washington, USA. When we got down to the parking lot, the air was cold and gloomy, with only a few cars parked overnight. 1 week, I signed up to work overtime at the company until late at night. I remember it was Tuesday. I lazily left the office at nearly 10 p.m. When we got down to the parking garage, the air was cold and gloomy, with only a few cars parked overnight. I approached my parking spot, panicked when I saw the car had a black skull painted on it. I went home, frustration lingering within me all night. The next morning, I asked the security guard to review the security camera in the parking garage. I want to know the bastard who did the trick. But the camera quality was very low. Only seeing a black shadow, I parked the car in quite a dark location. I had to swallow my anger and let him go. That evening, I still got off work late like the day before. Learning from experience, this time I parked the car near the camera. I carefully went around to check, seeing that the car was still intact. I felt secure in opening the door and sitting in. Suddenly, there were clicking sounds followed by savage laughter. It echoed in the quiet night space of the car tunnel. Startled, I grabbed the steering wheel tightly. A few seconds later, the laughter stopped, and I took a moment to calm down. Even though I'm a woman, I'm a rather brave one, and I don't believe in ghost stories. Slowly opening the door and getting out of the car, I looked around. The clicking sound rang out again. I concentrated on listening, slowly sat down and looked under the car. What caught my eye was that wrinkled face, that creepy smile, and that savage laugh. I pulled out a devil toy. It was probably made on Halloween. "Who the hell is doing this?" I muttered angrily. I walked around the parking area but couldn't find the vandal. That silly thing took me a lot of time. It was already 12 o'clock when I got home. The next morning, I went to work late feeling tired and lethargic. My close colleague Evelyn asked me worriedly, "Are you okay, Lisa? Don't work too hard." Receiving a cup of coffee from Evelyn makes me feel more comfortable. Talking a little about Evelyn, she is Asian American. I love her beauty. "Don't tell me you're still working overtime tonight, right?" Evelyn asked. I smiled and nodded. She looked surprised and helpless, then left to go back to work. By 8 p.m. that night, I was exhausted. My mind couldn't work anymore. I decided to go home and rest early. Going down to the basement, heading towards the parking lot, I heard someone mumbling. The closer I got to where I parked, the clearer the whisper became. I could hear the content of what that person said were scary curses. Walking faster, my heart pounded when I realized there was a figure standing next to my car. I ran over, but that person noticed and immediately ran away. He ran so fast I couldn't keep up and lost track of him. Returning to the parking lot, I was startled to discover a strange object. It was a small piece of yellow paper. Drawn on it were very strange characters. I guess they were charms. I've heard of witchcraft, but it's not really popular in America. I was so shocked. I couldn't believe I would fall into this terrible situation. On the drive home, I kept thinking about the talisman. I asked myself a lot of questions about myself and my relationships. That night was truly terrifying for me. I was half awake and half dreaming, always feeling like someone was lying next to me. A cold hand was placed on my arm. I was fully aware and felt but unable to react. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. That cold hand gradually touched my neck and squeezed hard. I widened my eyes in fear, my body still stiff even though I tried to struggle. The hand squeezed even tighter. My neck hurt. I sat up, opened my mouth wide, and inhaled as much as I could. I'm using two hands, squeezing my neck tightly. I fell into a daze and sat like that all night. It wasn't until the next afternoon that I arrived at the company. I wore a silk scarf to cover the bruises on my neck. Looking around, I couldn't see Evelyn. I asked my colleagues. They said she had a serious car accident last night. The garage guard said that she panicked and ran away quickly out of the parking garage, and at that moment, a car came. During that afternoon, I thought a lot about Evelyn. Now that I'm married, my husband is the one who helped me get through that difficult period. I am working as a department head and continuously succeed with large projects. As for Evelyn, she has been in a vegetative state for the past 5 years. I still keep the video recorded by the hidden camera I placed in the car. The images of Evelyn with an evil look in her eyes that I had never seen before.
I'm James, 42 years old, working as a security guard for the West Village apartment building, New York, USA. This is a small apartment building with 7 floors, a small number of residents, and a quiet place. I know a woman named Ava, 67 years old. She lives alone in an apartment on the 6th floor. Ava is reserved and prefers to observe everything around her. She has gone through many things in life. Her husband and daughter died in a car accident, and since then, Ava has lived alone. I often talk to Ava, feeling very peaceful and warm. If my mother were still alive, she would be the same age as Ava is now. One evening around 11 o'clock, I was on the night shift. Suddenly, footsteps and murmurs rang out. 6th floor, house number, 6th floor, house number. The sound of footsteps and mumbling grew closer and closer. I startled to see the silhouette of a woman with loose hair. It turned out to be Miss Ava. She doesn't remember the house number and has been wandering around the apartment since afternoon. Ava said she asked for help from several people here, but they all ignored what Ava said. I took Ava back to her apartment and brought her some food. Recently, Ava began showing signs of Alzheimer's disease. Ava forgot what I said just a few minutes ago. Ava's illness worsened as she continued to wander and mumble every night. For about 2 days now, I haven't seen Ava anywhere. I worriedly went to Ava's apartment and rang the bell many times, but Ava didn't open the door. I called Ava and heard the bell ringing from inside the house. Feeling that something bad was going on, I immediately informed the building management, telling them to quickly open Ava's apartment. After opening the door, I and the management board went into the apartment. Everything in the apartment is still intact and tidy. There were no unusual signs. The only unusual thing was that Ava could not be found. The building's management board immediately called the police, and the footage from the camera in the apartment were also provided. The last image recorded by the camera was when Ava entered the elevator on the 3rd floor and disappeared. People in the apartment complex don't pay much attention to Ava's disappearance. The search for Ava is still ongoing. It's been 10 days since she went missing. Late that afternoon, I was informed by the people living in the 6th floor apartment that there was a fight between 2 men. I immediately ran into the elevator to go to the 6th floor. When the elevator stopped, I looked up at the display board and was startled to realize I had pressed the wrong number 5 for the floor. Before I could press the elevator to go to the 6th floor, the elevator door opened. Immediately, the stench entered my nostrils. An object immediately fell on me. I reflexively raised my hand to block it. It was Ava, to be exact. It was her body. Her face was close to mine, gray, her hair hanging down, and a terrible stench. My hands could feel her flesh melting as I held the body. I was shocked and speechless. The elevator warning sound kept ringing. I dragged Ava's body into the elevator and pressed the button to go down. The building management board and police were present to get information and scramble the scene. And I stood looking at Ava's body for a long time. After investigating and documenting all information, the police concluded the cause of her death as follows. The 5th floor of the building was blocked by an iron door, 50 centimeters from the elevator door. The iron door was locked. Because of Alzheimer's disease, Ava mistakenly pressed the elevator to the 5th floor and not the 6th floor. Ava walked out of the elevator door before she could turn back. The elevator closed and went down. The 5th floor is an area that was acquired a few months ago, so no one goes there anymore. So she had been stuck here for the past 2 days of her disappearance and all the days of searching. The police tried standing at the location where Ava was stuck and yelled, which was clearly heard by part of the area on the 4th and 6th floors. So why didn't anyone heed Ava's plea for help?